I still remember the exact moment everything changed. It was a family dinner in late December. The kind of dinner that, for most people, signals warmth and togetherness. But for me, it was the night I finally let go of the last illusion I had about my family. My mother, Linda, sat across from me, her eyes sharp as broken glass, her fingers tightening around a wine glass that cost more than my first semester's textbooks. The lights from our oversized Christmas tree flickered off the silverware, but the air felt colder than the Texas winter outside. She leaned forward, not bothering to hide the distaste in her voice. "Your success means nothing, Madison. Olivia is the only daughter who matters." It wasn't the first time she'd said something like that, but it was the first time she'd said it so openly. With my father, Robert, pretending to read the Wall Street Journal at the head of the table. And Olivia, my perfect, precious younger sister, smirking into her phone, probably live-streaming her dinner for her followers. The irony wasn't lost on me. Sitting next to my plate was the receipt for the property tax I'd paid for this very house just last month. $300,000. That was the real reason they'd invited me home for the holidays this year, though nobody had the nerve to say it out loud. It was always easier for them to pretend I existed to serve some other purpose. Babysitter, bank, scapegoat. I set my fork down, the weight of it grounding me as I took a breath and looked my mother straight in the eye. My voice was steady, far steadier than I felt. "Then watch what happens when I finally disappear from your lives. I hope you're ready for it." You could have heard a pin drop. My father didn't look up. Olivia's fingers paused mid-text. For one perfect, frozen moment, it felt like time stopped and I was finally, undeniably seen. What nobody in my family realized was that I'd already spent months preparing for this moment. The quiet revenge, the evidence, the lines I would never let them cross again. And as I sat there, I promised myself that the next time they needed something from me, I would be the last person they'd ever think to ask. But I should probably introduce myself, especially if you're wondering how a daughter could cut off her entire family and sleep soundly at night. My name is Madison Carter. I'm 31 years old, a real estate attorney in Dallas, Texas. I am, on paper, everything a family like mine should have bragged about. I built my career from nothing, put myself through law school with scholarships and late-night shifts, and started investing in real estate before I was even 25. But for my parents, I was always just the other daughter. See, in my family, there's a rule, though no one says it out loud. Whatever Olivia wants, Olivia gets. My younger sister, Olivia Carter, is the golden child, the Instagram darling, the failed entrepreneur, the one who somehow always managed to spin every minor setback into a redemption story for her followers. She's 3 years younger than me, has been building her brand since her freshman year of college, and has a talent for collecting expensive things and getting others to pay for them. My mother, Linda, calls herself a philanthropist, but her main occupation is social climbing. She organizes charity galas, posts carefully curated updates about our family's achievements, and is always surrounded by the right people at the right events. My father, Robert, owned a mid-sized construction company, at least until a series of questionable investments nearly bankrupted him. Since then, I've been the one quietly bailing out the family. But you'd never know that from the way they talk about me, if they talk about me at all. It wasn't always this obvious. When I was younger, I still believed I could earn their approval. I remember nights spent alone in my room, studying while the rest of my family celebrated Olivia's latest win, whether that meant a ribbon in ballet class or an invitation to someone's sweet 16 party. Even then, I thought if I just worked a little harder, maybe they'd finally see me. But the truth is, they never wanted to see me. They just wanted what I could give them. And I know what you're thinking. How does a family end up like this? How does it get so bad that the only way out is to burn it all down? I'll get to that. Because as dramatic as that dinner was, it was just the beginning. What happened after the evidence? The betrayal. The night they showed up begging for help was a story I never imagined I'd have to live. But trust me, when you see how far people will go to protect their golden child, you start to understand why some daughters choose quiet revenge over forgiveness. For now, all you need to know is this. By the time my mother told me I meant nothing, I'd already accepted it. And the moment I walked out that night, I became the one person in my family with nothing left to lose. And as you're about to see, that's the most dangerous person in the room. Backstory. That's what everyone wants when they hear a story like mine. It can't have been that bad, they say. Or, you must have misunderstood. But the truth is, the signs were always there. My childhood was a lesson in being both needed and invisible. I grew up in a house that looked perfect from the outside: wide green lawn, two-car garage, a porch swing. My father insisted on painting every summer. The Carter family fit right in with the well-heeled suburb of Highland Park, Dallas. My father, Robert, was the guy everyone called when they wanted a new patio or an extension for their kitchen. My mother, Linda, threw legendary Christmas parties, with more lights than an airport runway and a guest list that doubled as her LinkedIn network. And then there was Olivia. She's 3 years younger than me, born when my parents' business was just starting to take off. From day one, Olivia was the sun around which the rest of us orbited. She had blonde curls, a laugh like wind chimes, and a talent for getting away with anything. I never held it against her, not at first. After all, she was my little sister. I loved her. I defended her at school, cleaned up her messes at home. That's what big sisters do. But even as a child, I saw how the scales tipped. When I made the honor roll in 5th grade, my mother nodded, distracted, already checking her phone. When Olivia won most creative in kindergarten for a finger painting, my parents took her out for ice cream, posted her artwork all over Facebook, and told everyone how gifted she was. Birthdays were the same story every year. For my 12th, I got a calculator and a gift card. You're so responsible. Madison. For Olivia's 10th, a Mini Cooper, pink, complete with a giant bow and an Instagram photo shoot. I watched the likes pour in while I quietly cleaned up the wrapping paper. My parents called it fair, but I learned early that fair meant doing whatever kept Olivia happy. The holidays were the hardest. I would stay up late helping my mother bake cookies for her charity events, organizing decorations, wrapping presents for neighbors. Olivia would sweep in just before guests arrived, twirl in a new dress, and soak up the compliments. I would stand by the door, waiting for someone to ask about my debate tournament or my latest grades. No one ever did. Maybe you think I sound bitter. Maybe I am. But at that age, I still believed I could change things. In high school, I joined every club, played varsity tennis, worked weekends at the public library, and still managed to keep straight A's. College wasn't a question of if I won a full scholarship to the University of Texas, then went on to Harvard Law, paying my own way with grants and student jobs. Olivia, meanwhile, found herself. She tried theater, modeling, then influencer life. Each time she wanted something, a new laptop, a trip to Los Angeles, a loan for a failed jewelry business. My parents opened their checkbook. It's her turn to explore, my mother would say. Or, she needs support. When I asked for help with my rent my first year in Boston, my father told me, Madison, you're the responsible one. You'll figure it out. And I did. I always did. But the real breaking point came after college. I had just started my first real job at a law firm in Dallas, working 16-hour days, eating takeout on the floor of my tiny apartment. One night, my phone rang. It was my mother. Not to check on me, not to say she was proud. She wanted to know if I could help Olivia with a contract for her new startup, an organic beauty line she'd dreamed up in a weekend. I spent weeks reviewing her documents, cleaning up her mess. When the business flopped 6 months later, my parents never mentioned it again. Olivia moved on to her next big idea. And I went back to my work, wondering if they even remembered my birthday that year. Looking back, I see how clear it all was. I was their insurance policy, the one who never needed help. So they could focus all their attention on Olivia. Every sacrifice I made, every time I stayed silent so Olivia could shine, it chipped away at something inside me. The worst part, I still wanted their approval. I still wanted to believe that if I just kept trying, things would change. But there was something my parents didn't realize. Every time they ignored me, every time they asked for help but refused to give any, I was learning. I was building the skills I'd need to stand on my own. I was growing a backbone. And as you'll see soon enough, that was the one thing they never expected, and the one thing that would change everything. Conflict always starts quietly in families like mine. For years, I told myself it would get better, that being overlooked was just temporary, that my time would come. But adulthood doesn't magically fix old wounds. It just gives you new ways to bleed. After law school, I moved back to Dallas for work. I was 26, exhausted, and determined to prove myself in the city where I'd always been just the Carter's older daughter. My job at a boutique real estate law firm was grueling, but I was grateful. I wanted to show my family I could make it, maybe even make them proud. But Olivia was already 3 steps ahead in the family narrative. She'd launched a YouTube channel called Living with Olivia, where she reviewed skincare, shared vlogs from pool parties, and filmed get ready with me routines in the very house my parents now struggled to afford. Within a year, she had brand deals, a small but loud following, and a blue check mark. She called herself a young entrepreneur. My parents, they called her their shining star. When the firm offered me a bonus for closing my first big deal, $25,000, more money than I'd ever seen in one place, I paid off my student loan debt. I even sent $5,000 to my parents to help with property taxes. They thanked me briefly, but immediately changed the subject to Olivia's upcoming collaboration with a local designer. My mother said, "You should be more like your sister. She's fearless." I nodded, as always, and poured myself another cup of coffee. Things escalated quickly from there. I started noticing strange emails from the family accountant, questions about accounts I'd never heard of, loan documents with my name in the fine print. At first, I thought it was a mistake. But when I called to ask, my father brushed it off. "Don't worry about it, Madison. Everything's under control. He always had a way of making me feel like I was paranoid for asking questions. One afternoon, I met up with Tom, my closest friend from law school. He'd just made partner at his firm. And over coffee, he told me, "Mehdi, you need to look at your credit report." His tone was careful, gentle. "Something doesn't add up. If you need me to run anything for you, just say the word." That night, I sat in my apartment, scrolling through pages of financial records, my chest tight with dread. There it was, my name listed as a cosigner on a business loan for over $60,000. Taken out less than 6 months earlier. The signature wasn't mine, but it was close enough to fool most people. And the company. It was a media venture in Olivia's name, registered at my parents' home address. The rage was cold. I wasn't surprised. Not really. But seeing it all in black and white broke something inside me. I called my parents. Voice shaking. "Did you use my information to get a loan for Olivia?" Silence. Then my mother. As if reading from a script. "You're overreacting. It's all for the family. We'll pay it back. Olivia just needed a little help to get started." My father chimed in. Voice weary. "You're the responsible one. Madison. We knew you could handle it. Don't make a scene." There it was. The family pattern: deny, deflect, dismiss. I'd been here before. But now, with my career and credit at stake, I couldn't ignore it. I spent that weekend documenting everything: printing emails, scanning signatures, screenshotting text messages. Tom helped me build a file, piece by piece, in case things got ugly. But the hardest part was realizing how alone I was. When I tried to confide in my mother's sister, Aunt Grace, she sighed. "You know how your mother is. She just wants what's best for everyone. Maybe you should let it go." Even my friends, well-meaning but naive, said, "Family's family. Mehdi, they'll come around." The isolation stung. At work, I kept up appearances, closing deals, earning praise from clients, hiding the anxiety clawing at my insides. At home, I ignored calls from my parents, then from Olivia, who left me voice messages complaining about haters and asking why I was being so distant. But I was done playing the backup role. I started researching identity theft laws, talked to colleagues about financial fraud, checked every account and document linked to my name. The evidence piled up. And with every new piece, my resolve hardened. The Carter family was heading toward a cliff. And for once, I wasn't going to be their safety net. But what happened next surprised even me. Because as soon as I began setting boundaries, my family's response went from guilt-tripping to full-on desperation. The quiet war had begun, and I had no intention of losing. Mini twists. That's how it happens in real life, small revelations that crack the surface. Until one day, the whole facade collapses. For me, the real unraveling started the week I confronted my parents face to face. Evidence folder in hand. I'd called ahead and told my mother I was coming over. She sounded strained, but tried to play it off. "Of course. Dear. We'll have your favorite coffee ready." When I arrived, Olivia was sprawled across the couch, phone in hand, legs tucked under a designer blanket. My father was nowhere to be seen. My mother hovered by the kitchen, wearing the bright lipstick and fake smile she always saved for guests. I sat down and placed a stack of printed emails and loan documents on the table. "We need to talk," I said quietly, For a moment, no one moved. Then Olivia rolled her eyes. Oh my God. Maddie, are you seriously still mad about that loan? You're a lawyer, can't you just fix it? That's what you do. Right. My mother's eyes darted to the papers. Madison, you're making a mountain out of a molehill. Olivia just needed help getting her business off the ground. It's not a crime to support your family. I slid a copy of the loan agreement across the table, the fake signature facing them. This is identity theft, I said, my voice calm, almost cold. I didn't sign this, and I can prove it. Tom has already sent a request for a forensic handwriting analysis, and I've reported the suspicious activity to the bank. Their faces fell. Just for a second, before my mother regrouped. So what are you going to do? Call the police on your own family? Ruin your sister's future over a misunderstanding? I met her gaze. No. I'm giving you a chance to fix it. Pay off the loan within 60 days. Remove my name from every financial document. And after that, don't ever use my identity again. Olivia scoffed, still not taking it seriously. God. You're such a drama queen. I can't believe you're doing this to us. You act like you're some kind of martyr. But you just want to make everyone look bad. I didn't rise to the bait. Instead, I quietly pressed play on my phone, letting a recording play out my mother. Weeks earlier, telling me to just sign whatever Olivia needs. She'll pay you back. We promise. The room went silent. I stood. I'm not your safety net anymore. From now on, you handle your own messes. If you don't fix this, I will. For days after, my phone buzzed with guilt trip messages. My mother sent long emails about family and forgiveness. Olivia posted vague Instagram stories about toxic people who can't handle a queen's success. My father left voicemails late at night, his voice heavy with defeat, begging me to please, don't let this tear the family apart. I ignored them and focused on protecting myself. I called the credit bureaus, froze my accounts, hired a professional to scrub my records of any fraudulent activity. Tom kept an eye on my legal options, reminding me, you're doing the right thing. Maddie, most people never stand up for themselves. You're not only protecting your future, you're setting a precedent. Aunt Grace reached out, her tone different than before. She'd seen Olivia's posts and had questions. When I shared some of the documents, she shook her head. Linda always said you were the strong one. But I never realized how much you did for them. I'm sorry. Madison. If you need me to talk to anyone, friends, the community, let me know. It was the first time I felt seen by family in years. But as the weeks ticked by, my parents' desperation grew. They tried every tactic: tears, threats, public shaming, even showing up at my office unannounced. They tried to convince my boss that I was emotionally unstable, hoping to scare me into dropping everything. It didn't work. Instead, my boss called security and then called me into his office. He listened as I explained everything, evidence in hand. And when I was done, he simply said, "We're behind you. Madison, if your family tries anything here, we'll handle it." That small vote of confidence felt like winning a war. I wish I could say that was the end. But my family had one more card to play: a public ambush at the annual charity gala my mother hosted every year. She invited me to attend, promising a chance to move forward. Part of me knew it was a trap, but I showed up anyway. Evidence folder in my bag, Tom, just a phone call away. And that night, in front of half the city, everything finally exploded. You never forget the moment your family tries to destroy you in public. For me, it happened at the Highland Park Charity Gala, a glamorous affair my mother had curated for over a decade. The ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and gold-trimmed tables. Every detail posted on social media within seconds. This was Linda Carter's kingdom. And for years, I'd been invited as a prop. A success story for her to parade among donors. That night, I arrived alone. I wore a simple black dress classic. Unremarkable. The opposite of Olivia's shimmering silver gown that caught every flash from every camera. She was posing with local influencers, showing off a diamond bracelet she designed for a failed brand collab. My mother greeted guests with air kisses and laughter just a little too loud. As I crossed the room, people stopped to congratulate me. "We heard you're leading the new real estate project downtown. You must be so proud." "Madison," I smiled, answered politely, all the while feeling Olivia's eyes burning holes in my back. An hour in, my mother took the stage. She tapped her glass, silencing the room. "Thank you all for joining us tonight. Family is everything. Isn't it? I want to celebrate my beautiful daughters, Olivia and Madison, for all their achievements." There was applause. Then she turned, microphone in hand, and said, "But sometimes, even family faces hard times. Madison has been struggling lately with stress, with misunderstandings. We hope tonight will be a new start. Forgiveness is what matters." The room grew still. I felt hundreds of eyes swing to me, curious, pitying, and a few downright predatory. Olivia stood at her table, dramatically dabbing fake tears from her eyes. That's when I realized my mother's plan was to paint me as the unstable, bitter daughter in front of every important person in our community. In that moment, the only thing I felt was relief, because I no longer had anything left to lose. I walked to the podium, folder in hand. My voice didn't shake. "Thank you, Mom. I agree. Forgiveness is important, but so is the truth." I looked around, searching for Tom, who stood at the back, arms crossed, nodding encouragement. I opened the folder, my fingers steady. "I know many of you have heard rumors. I'd like to clarify them now. Over the past year, my personal information was used to secure a business loan without my consent. The signatures were forged. I have evidence, including a full forensic analysis and recordings. It's identity theft. Plain and simple." Murmurs, gasps. My mother's face blanched. Olivia dropped her phone. I continued. "Because of this, my accounts were compromised. My career put at risk. Some of you may have received messages claiming I was unwell or unstable. I have documentation that proves otherwise. I have chosen to protect myself, legally and financially. Any further attacks on my reputation will be handled by my attorneys." The silence was electric. Then, one of the gala's biggest donors, a woman who had watched me grow up, stood up and said, "We're proud of you, Madison. Standing up for yourself is the bravest thing you can do." Others followed, clapping slowly at first, then louder. My mother turned away, her perfect mask cracking. Olivia was frozen in place. Later that evening, as guests whispered and some quietly offered support, my mother tried to intercept me near the coat room. "How could you do this to us? In front of everyone?" I looked her in the eyes, for the first time truly unafraid. You did this to yourself. I warned you. I'm done being your scapegoat. That night, I left the gala with my head high. My future. Finally my own. But I wasn't done. The next day, I officially filed a civil suit for identity theft and fraud, freezing every shared account linked to my name. Within a week, my parents' business accounts were locked. Olivia lost her last brand deal when the story hit the news. The Carter family name was no longer welcome at country clubs or gala tables. And through it all, I said nothing on social media. No rants. No posts, just silence. Quiet revenge is the loudest kind. And just when they thought it couldn't get worse, the real consequences began. Consequences come slowly. At first, like cracks in a dam before the water floods through. For my parents and Olivia, it started with hushed whispers in the community. The Highland Park rumor mill spun faster than ever. Did you hear about the Carters Madisons suing her own family? Olivia's last business deal collapsed overnight. Within a month, my father's construction company lost 3 major contracts. Clients called to say they were reviewing relationships, citing concerns about integrity. My mother was asked to step down from 2 charity boards for the good of the organization. Her phone calls went unanswered. Emails ignored. Invitations vanished. The annual Christmas party, her pride and joy, was suddenly canceled by the club, citing capacity issues. Olivia tried to control the story online. But the internet has a long memory. People pulled up old posts of her advertising doomed projects, promising refunds that never came. Influencer forums dissected every fake giveaway, every questionable collaboration. Brands unfollowed her, quietly deleted posts, and issued statements about committing to transparency. Meanwhile, my phone filled with desperate messages. My father, on stoic, now begged me to reconsider. This isn't who we are. Maddie. Family comes first. My mother swung between fury and tears, sending page-long emails about ruined reputations and ungrateful daughters. Olivia left voice notes so angry they bordered on hysterical. You've ruined everything. Are you happy now? No one will ever want to work with me again. But I didn't respond. For the first time, I wasn't their problem solver, their emergency fund, their scapegoat. I focused on my cases, volunteered with a local legal clinic, and slowly started to feel the weight lift off my chest. The Carter house, once the centerpiece of the neighborhood, went up for sale by the bank. My parents were forced to move into a cramped apartment on the edge of town. A far cry from the world of designer, furniture, and exclusive parties they'd curated for so long. Olivia tried working retail, then temp jobs. They're her personal brand now, little more than a punchline among her old followers. Aunt Grace, the only family member who never took sides, quietly sent me a card. Inside, she wrote, "You did the right thing, Madison. Some people will never see your worth until you stop letting them spend it." I kept every piece of evidence, every apology, every veiled threat. Tom checked in on me weekly, always reminding me, "You chose dignity over drama. That's the hardest choice." One day, my parents showed up at my office, unannounced, faces drawn, eyes hollow. The building security guard called me before letting them in. I stood in the lobby as they pleaded for forgiveness, offered half promises to fix everything if I would just drop the lawsuit. They cried. They begged. They blamed each other. Then me. I didn't raise my voice. I simply said, "This is not my responsibility anymore. I hope someday you understand why I had to walk away. They left. Shoulders hunched. Defeated. It was the last time I ever saw them in person. My phone stayed silent after that. There were no more late-night voicemails. No more emails filled with accusations. Just a quiet peace I hadn't felt since childhood, a space to build my own life. On my own terms. And as I looked out from my office window, watching the city lights blink on, I realized sometimes justice isn't loud or flashy. Sometimes, it's just the absence of old pain. And the freedom to move forward without looking back. Ending and reflection. The last stage in every revenge story. But the first in my new life. A year had passed since the Carter name faded from the holiday party circuit. Since my parents lost the house where we'd staged every illusion of a happy family. In that time, I had done what I'd always dreamed, bought my own penthouse in the heart of Dallas. Joined a firm as a junior partner. And launched a scholarship for first-generation law students who came from families just like mine. Sometimes, I would pass the old neighborhood on my way to meetings. The house looked smaller. The lawn unkept. The new owners already repainting the door. I felt nothing, not anger. Not pride. Just a distant gratitude that I'd survived and escaped. Olivia, for her part, bounced between minimum wage jobs. Her name quietly erased from the influencer world. Last I heard, she was trying to launch a podcast about starting over after being canceled. Our paths never crossed. My parents sent a letter every few months pleading, bargaining, promising to change if I'd just help them one more time. I never wrote back. The boundaries I'd fought so hard to create were holding. Finally, the media occasionally reached out, hoping for a dramatic update. But I always declined. Quiet revenge is only satisfying if you don't become what you hate. Instead, I spoke at law schools and local conferences, telling my story without names, focusing on resilience, not bitterness. I reminded young women in the audience that loyalty is not an obligation, and that sometimes leaving is the bravest act of love you can give yourself. Aunt Grace and Tom became my chosen family. We spent holidays together, laughing over takeout, toasting to freedom and new traditions. No one ever asked me for money or expected me to fix their lives. They just saw me as I was enough, even when I doubted it myself. Looking back, the lesson is simple. Sometimes family is just a story we tell ourselves. And sometimes it's a story we have to rewrite. The world will always have people who can't see your worth, who use you, who rewrite the facts to suit their needs. But you are never obligated to let them. If you've ever been the scapegoat, the silent supporter, the invisible one, know this. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to choose peace over chaos and dignity over drama. The quietest revenge is building a life where you don't need them anymore, where their approval means nothing compared to your own. So, would you forgive, or would you, like me, walk away for good? Let me know your thoughts below. I read every story. And maybe, just maybe, this is the beginning of your own quiet revenge. Justice, in the end, isn't always about punishment. Sometimes, it's about letting yourself heal. And that, more than anything, is the true victory.